Friday, everyone. This is State Representative Brad Halbrook, along with my friends, Leader Chairman Chris Miller of the Freedom Caucus, Leader David Freese, and a cameo appearance of the Freedom Caucus State Director. Welcome, everyone, to our Friday edition, House third reading deadline week. We're kind of here midday on Friday, trying to get started back up again. Again, this is day 4 of deadline week, and so it's the goal is to get as many bad Democrat bills out of the House chambers. You can see behind me 150 bills so far. Probably expect another, who knows what, gentlemen, 40, 50, 60, depends on how long they want to keep us here today. The Senate moved 130 and then they went home. They didn't stay. They worked into the evening last night and they didn't stick around. They went home. So they're done for the week. Then we come back next week. We start to process all over again as we should start to get Senate bills. Not a lot of committees yet on the schedule, but well, I guess we'll see what happens.
I think they're coming, though.
Yeah, I'm surprised we didn't have a couple this morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, gentlemen, it was about 10 o'clock, I think, when we got out of here last night.
Yeah.
The nature of some of these bills, we should have just adjourned as gavelled in and gavelled out, because I don't think the people of Illinois will be much better off once these bills, if they are ever signed into law, ever get signed into law.
Hopefully they die in the Senate.
Hopefully the adults in the room over there will.
Yeah. Better judgment prevails. I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see. Time will tell. And that happens a lot.
It does.
Now, one thing that we talked about last week that we've not heard a lot this week is these bills are so bad. They say we'll fix it in the Senate.
Right.
But we've not heard a lot of that.
Maybe
this
a
week.
handful of times.
Yeah. So anyhow, let's get right into it. So we got a few bills here we want to talk about real quick. HB 5263. Chris, I think this was in your committee, a Lisa Hernandez bill. It went out on pretty much a partisan roll call. It's an anti-ICE bill that would pay businesses that feel like they've been impacted if ICE is in their town or in their neighborhood.
Well, it was an anti-ICE bill that wasn't an anti-ICE bill, according to sources.
Okay.
The bill presenter claimed that this wasn't an anti-ICE bill, but if there is economic shock, which who knows what economic shock is, and the economic shock is defined by J.B. Pritzker.
Right.
If Pritzker declares that there's economic shock, then they will give you a loan that never has to be paid back in order to fuel your. Seriously,
That doesn't sound like a loan to me.
Yeah. Give me one of those loans.
Well, anyway, that's the Cliff Notes. But I mean, you can't make this stuff up.
Yeah.
The things that they come up with. I mean, the reasonable people thinking logically do not come to these conclusions where all it is a money laundering scheme for businesses in Chicago that have been negatively impacted by bad public policy.
Those are strong words, money laundering
Yeah.
scheme.
Well, I was watching the news the other day and they were talking about the quote street vendors that were affected. I think this was in another city, not Chicago, but I'm sure that's what they're talking about is the street vendors that are not out there, and then obviously the people that patron those street vendors. So it's not a loan, it's a gift. Money laundering is probably a good way to put it here. And there will be zero accountability at the end of the day.
Right.
When the question is asked, well, how much money was loaned out, nobody will be able to give you a hard number.
Yeah. The street vendors would be in economic peril anyway, and shock economics, because if they're taking cash in downtown Chicago, I would guess that they're vulnerable.
Oh, absolutely. Soft target.
Yeah.
And to me, bills like this admit one thing, that there are a ton of illegal immigrants in the city and surrounding area, because there is no economic impact to an ICE operation without illegal immigrants being the people that are in your communities. And so, to me, the only economic impact we should be worried about is to, American taxpayers, but that's not what the Democrats think here in Illinois.
Yeah, if ICE came and parked in front of my business, it wouldn't hurt my business one bit.
Right. Where I live, we would have probably increased sales. We'd be buying them coffee,
Moving on. HB 5295, again, a partisan roll call. Mary Beth Canty, probably the perkiest one on the House floor over there on the other side, hides records on abortion and gender treatment. What could possibly go wrong with hiding medical records in today's world? Any thoughts, gentlemen?
Good. If you're a physician and you need to treat somebody they're in your care. What you do is you put a request for medical records. Now you take a history from your patient, obviously, and then you request a medical records because people forget and the other thing is that they don't remember medicines that they've been prescribed, whatever. And they also want the details of like operative reports, things of that nature. And these records will now be prohibited from being obtained by the treating physician if they deal with abortion and gender affirming care medication.
I know anytime that I go to the doctor, the first thing they do is pull up my records and they go down through there. You're still taking this medication and this and that and the other, but they look at your history because
Absolutely.
they can't store all that information,
No,
Right.
in their mind. So they go back and look at the records, and then so they can properly treat you or give you advice. And
Right.
that's
You
just
could,
insane.
in every medications when they're taken together, sometimes they had really adverse side effects. So that should be fully disclosed. And this is one of the craziest things about this current generation of Democrats is abortion and transitioning kids are the top two priorities of some of these people, and it's really baffling to me.
Right.
And then you have a licensed, long time serving medical doctor on the floor on our side of the aisle. The only doctor in the chamber is a medical doctor, who was talking about how bad this bill is, but the crazy liberal leftists, they know better than the ER physician. It just blows my mind that they think that they're somehow experts on this stuff because of their ideology.
Yeah. And then I think a couple times she said, "Well, I'm not a doctor,"
Right.
but
no kidding.
yeah.
But I have this great
thank goodness.
ideology. I have this great ideology
Right.
that trumps medical science.
Right. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're on this idea of medical science. A partisan roll call. Another leading authority on the other side, Katie Stewart, child. Yeah, we're not sure what the authority is that she leads on, but anyhow, child gender hormone treatment. What gentlemen? This is more of the same.
So this bill was presented as just the ability to prescribe hormones for a year at a time, and then again, Doc Outer
For
menopause, but and I think Adam hit on this as well, is that this could also be prescribed to again somebody wanting to transition children, and she was like, "Oh, you just want to focus on that?" Well, yeah, because that's what you're focusing on, and we don't want that to happen. And all they had to do was put an exemption in the bill or an exclusion in the bill. No, you've got to be, in menopause or
18 and up or something.
Something. No, but they refused to do that. And again, it's this wanting to transition children.
Director in committee, right, between leader to pause the committee for a second.
I got to give Adam, he flagged this in committee and went after Stewart on it, and they paused the committee because of it, mostly because she pretty much bold-faced saying, yeah, that is what this bill does, and I don't think half of her caucus knew that was the case. And there are a few left over there that do not like this stuff. And so the roll call, if you go back and look, I think that last night.
Yeah.
And
when they should have voted no.
right.
Absolutely. So
and the next bill, and the last bill we'll talk about, 4844, Leader Hoffman, he leads on labor issues up and down the line. He's been here. I think he is maybe the most senior member of the General Assembly. Again, this bill didn't even get 6934, so there were several members on the Democrat side stayed off of it. But it would if you had 26, if you're an employer with 26 or more employees, you would have to pay the regular rate for an employee to go to
jury duty.
Yeah. So you're a legal man. You're in court. How would you think this affect businesses and all of that?
Absolutely. And this was again, everybody wants in the General Assembly here, at least on the Democrat side, they want to give more time off, paid time off, and more unpaid time off. And if you're a small business trying to operate in this state, they're doing everything they can to put you out of business, run up your cost. And I preach about this with everybody that I talk to about how the business climate is here in the state of Illinois. Is they're killing us. This, and again, this is all, it's just, a couple of days, but it's not a couple of days because it's on top of this bill and that bill and that bill. And before you know it, your employees get 2 or 3 months off, some paid, some unpaid, but you cannot operate a business like that because we're the people who own and operate businesses, they're in a business to make money. They're not an employment agency. And that we have got to get that through to the other side. And if it was so easy, then listen, you go to the bank, get a small business loan and open up a business and see how you can survive with all these crazy regulations.
Right. Well, let's do this. So we've talked about this, right? To your point, Leader, it's death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah.
It's just all these little nickel and dimes that really start to mount, add up pretty rapidly. And again, that's why we see such an outmigration of people from these deep blue states, Illinois, New York, California. And again, it just kills us. Where was this legislation patterned after? California, New York.
Yeah.
Well, those are quite the bastions of economic activity. Again, I think mostly with U-Haul and Mayflower moving their residents out of the state of Illinois, or out of the state of California, or out of the state of New York. So with that, gentlemen, any closing comments? We'll go into a speed round real quick. Colin, or
I can go first.
Okay.
Yeah, so one more day of session today, and for the first deadline week, we'll see what the day brings. There's still a lot of bad stuff on the calendar left to be called, so beware. I always say, I took a picture last night, because usually on the chamber you can see sunlight coming in, but when it gets dark, that's the most dangerous time for taxpayers in Illinois. When these guys are still voting on the floor and it's dark outside, so
it's really tough.
Just beware of that. But hey, Freedom Caucus is here fighting, doing the Lord's work, and so we'll keep you updated.
Exactly.
Yeah. So just keep us in your prayers and thoughts. We're here fighting a good fight. I appreciate all the support that we've gotten so far. So thank you, and stay with us, please.
Yeah. Chairman Miller.
I think one of the things that we see is just an ideological divide that can't be healed, and I think one of the reasons why we have so many anti-business bills is because the vast majority of people on the left side of the aisle many of them aren't married, many of them don't have a family, many of them have never run a business, many of them don't even have a family budget because they're still living in their parents' basement, and so a lot of it's just ignorance, because I know that, I'm the minority spokes on economic opportunity. And I think that we didn't even meet for 2 years. And then we've met a couple of times this year, mainly because I called them out that we've never met. And it's because people in the General Assembly don't understand economics or opportunity. And even with the bill we discussed earlier proves that they don't understand economics or opportunity. But I mean, that it's one of the things that we continually have to do, and one of the reasons why we have this town hall type format where we're discussing these bills is because it's hard to get accurate information and to let people know what's really going on here and how the assault continues on the middle class, on small businesses, and that's one of the reasons why we have to change what's happening here in Springfield, Illinois. It's a bad idea factory.
Yeah, just to follow up, the economic ignorance of these people is they're always going to quote tax the rich.
Right.
Well, what do the rich do when you tax them? Well, that gets spread down to the working class.
Right.
And what do? They just leave town.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Great points. Again, we always appreciate that you tune in, share, like, subscribe, and comment on our content, and follow our different channels, as we all have different and interesting things in an effort to keep you informed, and hopefully it's a little entertaining along the way, like when the phone goes off.
That was that the speaker. The speaker was probably calling.
The speaker was probably calling you, Chairman Miller, to say we're going to move your bills today.
Yeah,
that's what it is. He's had a change of heart.
Right.
Republican bills are going to move on finally the third day. So with that, thank you for tuning in, and we'll talk to you real soon. Have a great day.